Thanks to everybody for coming out. As you can see by my shirt, this week is the Curing Kids Cancer Week for us here in our program, similar to last year. Certainly we are honored to be able to participate in this to raise awareness for this amazing group of people that last year when I stood up here didn't really know much about, knew the story, but didn't know them personally, and have been so blessed to have been able to get to know the Owen family here over the last year and hear the story of Killian, their son that they lost at a young age to cancer. Heartbreaking, and they came and spoke to our team back in the springtime and were phenomenal with our players, and so heartbreaking, their story. And then our team was able to participate in an event in the springtime to help raise awareness for this as well. So we're excited to do our part this weekend and looking forward to continuing to bring awareness to this group. Going back to last week, too, I know I mentioned it on the teleconference, but certainly want to thank our fans for the environment and the atmosphere they created in Williams-Brice Stadium last Saturday. It was awesome, and I mentioned it on the teleconference for those of you that weren't on there. That's all the recruits were talking about, thankfully. They weren't talking about the results on the field. As soon as the game was over and I finished visiting with you guys and the post-game radio and the TV show, I went home and immediately just started texting recruits, and that's all they could talk about was the environment, the people, the ones that were there and the ones watching on TV. And then went to a recruiting dinner that night with the two prospects and their families that were here for their official visit, and that's all they could talk about was the environment in that stadium and how awesome it was. And then at 8 a.m. on Sunday morning, I was in my office for my first of 4 recruiting meetings that day with prospects, and that's what they wanted to talk about. So we appreciate our fans for the environment they created last Saturday. It was awesome and made a difference with all the recruits that were there. Couldn't be more positive with them as well. From an injury standpoint, Corey Rucker practiced today. It was great to see him out there. I know he was excited to get out there. Everyone that you're going to ask me about that didn't play last week, or the ones that got hurt during the game, like Rush and Devani, honestly, I would say that every single one of them are questionable as we stand here today, and that's not coach speak. I can't sit here and guarantee that they're all going to play, and I can't sit here and tell you that they're not going to play. Some of them practiced today, limited. Some of them didn't do much today in practice, but they all have a chance to play by Saturday. So we'll see how tomorrow goes. That includes Cam. That includes, obviously anybody but Mo Kaba, Jordan Strawn, and Chad Terrell, who are season-ending. So keeping our fingers crossed that we'll get them all back. We'll need them all back against a Charlotte team that's certainly getting better. They have elevated their program over the last few years, and the team that played the other night against Georgia State is a team that I think they felt like they were going to be going into this season. They returned a lot of starters off last year's team. Their starting quarterback, who's about to be a 4-time captain. I don't know if I've ever heard of that, where an athlete is going to be a captain on the team all 4 seasons. It says a lot about that young man. He's their all-time leading passer. He got hurt in the first game, so that he didn't play in their next 2 losses. He came back the other night against Georgia State and is everything that he's billed to be. He's a fantastic player. That's a great athlete. They've got talented receivers on the outside. The Conference USA Freshman of the Year is one of them. The other one's a guy that's been an all-conference player every year that he's been at Charlotte. So they've got weapons on the outside. They scored more points on Georgia State than we did, and they scored more points on Georgia State than North Carolina did. And I know North Carolina's playing pretty good offense this year up in Chapel Hill. So our defense has a big challenge. And then defensively, the same thing. I've got some transfers that are helping them. It's a new defensive coordinator, a new system, so you can see them getting more and more comfortable each week. And probably the turning point in that game against Georgia State was the other night. They brought a pressure off the backside, hit the Georgia State quarterback in the back. He fumbled. They pick it up, and they ran it in for a touchdown. That's 7 points. And then the very next drive, they get pressure on the quarterback. Quarterback gets hit. It's another interception, and Charlotte takes over at midfield. So a disruptive defense and a veteran quarterback on offense with talented receivers on the outside will certainly be a challenge for us, and we're going to have to play and coach well to have the kind of night that we want to have out there on Saturday night. So with that, we'd like to take any questions you guys have. I already covered injuries, so I don't know what you could have, David. I already knocked that one out, man.
Yeah, but about injury. No. Shane, last week, Juice goes from 8 catches to none catches. Bell had the 1 catch. Van had the 1. Just what do you guys got to do to get the ball into your game breakers' hands more?
Well, we've got to stay on the field for sure, and we got to get first downs. And I said it last week too that I'm going to come in here on Tuesdays, and you guys are going to be asking me after a game that Juice has a lot of catches why he didn't. And we had some other guys that made some plays the other day, not enough of them. But the biggest thing is we got to sustain drives, and we got to stay on the field on third down. But again, I mean, we've got a lot of guys on our offense that can make plays that I feel like are weapons, and we want them all to have touches for sure. But you look at Georgia. I mean, 19 obviously had some great plays the other day, but 0. I don't think he caught a ball. And they got really good running backs, but none of them just carried the ball an immense amount of time as well. So we've got enough guys that we've got to go where the read if it's a pass, or the whatever takes us if it's a run. But we've just got to. The biggest thing is just stay on the field, and we need to run more plays. And those guys know that. Each week it's going to be somebody different.
Shane, you had maybe musical chairs on the offensive line. I think Trey Jones played for a little bit in the middle of that game. Wanham obviously moved to left with Jalen out. And what did you kind of make of the offensive line's performance and some of those new guys maybe at different positions against Georgia?
I thought they played really, really well, and nobody's talking about that for sure. Now, did we win the game? Did we play well on offense? No. Do we have moral victories because, we didn't have a ton of sacks? No. But I think if you look at it, I mean, we lined up and we were able to pop some runs in there where we're a shoestring tackle away from popping a couple of them. And I think Georgia had, 1 sack, I think, or none. So we protected the quarterback for the most part. Did we get some pressure? Yes. And Spencer, to his, Spencer will tell you this too, like he's got to step up in the pocket. And some of those times on Saturday that Spencer was drifting backwards, he knows this. I'm not telling you anything we haven't already talked about, but we'd love for him to be able to step up in that pocket too, because we had good protection. So missing Jalen Nichols and some guys, Dylan having to go to left tackle, Wanamaker going to right tackle, Trey Jones coming in there and playing some. I thought those guys took a step forward and showed that we can, run the ball. I mean, some of the runs that we popped were the same run scheme over and over again. It was just out of some different formations, and we've got to continue to be better. We haven't arrived by any stretch of the imagination, but I thought those guys took a good step against a really, really good defense.
Shane, have you gotten a sneak peek of the schedule that's going to be released yet later today?
Yes and no. I mean, I don't know if it's changed. I saw a schedule in the past that is the 2023 schedule, but I'll be honest with you, I haven't looked at it in forever, so I couldn't tell you. I know we open up with North Carolina and Charlotte, and beyond that, I don't know. So, no.
Did you guys get like a watch party tonight to watch it on SEC Network or anything? Or?
We have a watch party to figure out how we're going to get a first down on third down, so that's how we can stay on the field. So, no, there's no this isn't like an NFL schedule release about the time. What time does it come on? 7?
I think 7, yeah.
At 7 o'clock, we'll be sitting in there as an offensive and defensive staff trying to figure out what our third down plan is so we can stop them and we can stay on the field.
And I guess on more pressing things, just in terms of Gilbert Edmond, obviously played a lot of snaps the other night. I guess just how have you guys kind of seen how he's progressed over the last 2 years and being in a position to really play a lot of snaps and make an impact? And I guess just what's kind of been his evolution over the last, year and a half, 2 years, and you guys have been here?
Yeah, he continues to just get better, and he was behind Birch and Strawn and Sterling and JJ last year. And, the challenge last year was Gilbert, like, we need you to help us on special teams. Like, right now, you're the 5th defensive end. You need to be a key special teams player. And I remember Mike Peterson saying it over and over again that Gilbert Edmonds is going to be a good player as he continues to grow, because he's still a young kid age-wise for his class as well. So he just keeps his mouth shut, don't really notice him, and just works. And I thought he did some really good things on Saturday. We know Gilbert can rush the passer. The thing that we've talked to Gilbert about is being better against the run. And one of his best plays, I mean, we showed it in there to the team on Sunday, was Georgia's running basically, split zone, meaning number 0, the tight end's coming across and to block him. And Gilbert gets inside the block and gets penetration, is able to make a tackle in the backfield. So if he's able to continue to do that, play with the physicality and the strength that he needs to against the run, he'll continue to be a great player.
Shane, kind of piggybacking off the offensive line question, are there aspects when you look at the film again where you can zero in on things where you say, you know what, we were a little better, we're not where we want to be, but we were a little better at this thing, and then this thing, and then this thing, and to help the building process as you get this program to where you want it to go?
I would start with Spencer. I mean, there's things that after the Arkansas game that we talked to him about just from a fundamental standpoint that he needed to be better at, and felt like he was. Just some technique, or not technique, but fundamentals and little things that you don't notice with the naked eye, that he was very, like, if the thing I love about Spencer, if you give him something to work on, like, he'll work on it, and he was very intentional about it. This week it's continuing to do a better job of, stepping up in the pocket. And I know Kirby talked about it, with their plan was to keep him in the pocket and not let him escape and get on the edge. And Spencer's going to have to continue to step up and make throws in the pocket, which he's done and will continue to do. So things like that, yes. And then our guys see it. On Sunday, we sat in that room next door. The entire offense did, every position, every coach. And normally we break up into position groups and watch the tape, but sat in there as an offense and went through however many plays we were out there offensively, 70, I think, the other day, or close to 70, and went through every play. And because to allow every player in that room to see how close we are, that, we've got guys open and we're close to popping runs and things like that. And it's not moral victories by any stretch of the imagination, but I think our guys saw the way that we even though it didn't look like it by any stretch of the imagination, it was nowhere near good enough. I did feel like we made some improvement. Now we just these plays are there to be made. We got to make them. And we're not doing that enough right now.
How much of what y'all are doing, plays you're calling, stuff you're running, is it similar to what Spencer did at Oklahoma? Is there much carryover? None at all? Or
as far as the scheme or the terminology, or both?
Just kind of generally across the board.
I think there's probably, we were doing some last year. The fourth down play that was in question, that's been the story or whatever. That play is called Sooner. We ran that play last year a bunch as well. We'll have to change the name now because I just said it in the press conference. But
Sorry.
It's my fault. But I mean, there's plays in our offense that we had last year that came from Oklahoma that probably have an Oklahoma theme. There's, I think I mentioned it last year. I mean, we have CD, we have Kyler, we have Sooner, we have Boomer. I mean, we have different plays that we brought from Oklahoma. But I think with Spencer coming in, we've continued those, and some of those he got here and really didn't like. The play that we called Boomer last year, he wasn't a big fan of, and we aren't running it right now. But there are things that he's comfortable with, that there's great communication between Sat and Spencer. And this isn't, okay, we're going to do everything Spencer wants and marry our offense all of a sudden to what Spencer's comfortable with. We got an entire offense to worry about, but certainly you want your quarterback comfortable. So to answer your question, there's probably a little bit more than last year, but it's not a wholesale change. If anything, I think we've gotten where it's maybe a little bit more, maybe less wordy, more one-word calls, more, just being able to just kind of operate at the tempo that Spencer's comfortable with as well.
And I ask that because just kind of the layman look at it is like, he's talking about how he wants to get more pro-style experience and that type of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not necessarily how things were run at Oklahoma, and I just didn't know if maybe there was some things you guys felt like you could draw from the past to help get him going and get the offense moving forward.
Yeah, no, we have. I mean, we've put in some things the last couple of weeks that I know that he's comfortable with, and he'll text me or text Sat or whatever. I mean, there's each week. I mean, you want your quarterback to have ownership in what you're doing. So each week, Spencer will go home or be there Sunday night, Monday night, tonight. He'll watch video and he'll text ideas to to Sat, you know, and the offensive coaches, that things that he likes. And, you know, he brought something to us this week that we haven't done that he was doing at Oklahoma. You know, there were some things, a couple things last week that we put in. So, I mean, we're always referring back to that, things that he was, you know, comfortable with, because you certainly want to make that guy comfortable. And he's done a great job too. He does want it to be pro style and things like that, but there's a happy medium as well. We've got to do what's best for our football team, our offensive football team as well.
Gilbert Edmond was in here earlier talking about how you're trying to be more verbal in practice on defense with communication. Zach Pickens said communication was a bit of an issue Saturday. How do you kind of evaluate that, and how do you go about fixing it, especially with so many new guys coming in?
Yeah, I think it's good because, I think it's getting better, and it needs to be. You know, to me, the great defenses, they're constantly talking, and with the way offenses are nowadays, with how fast they go and the pre-snap motion and the communication, you know, I mean, that's what got us on Saturday on that little, you know, pop pass early in the third quarter to 19, the tight end, was just a, you know, miscommunication. And that starts on us as coaches, where we don't turn a guy completely free, but you've got, you know, a new safety communicating with a safety that doesn't play as much, and just the communication was off. So you've got to have that. And it's no different than Coach Paris and Coach Staley on the basketball court want communication on defense and talking. Well, it's the same thing in football as well. And, you know, that's where, from a coaching standpoint, you got to be good that your players have confidence in what they're doing, so they feel confident being vocal and speaking up and communicating, for one. But then it's hard for sure when you do have a bunch of young players. I mean, there was a time out there Saturday, I think we had DQ Smith, Nicky Manwari, Kawan Banks, and Emory Floyd all on the field at the same time. I mean, that's 4 true freshmen, and you want them to communicate, but that they're not freshmen anymore. But it wasn't that long ago they were playing at Irmo High School and Spring Valley High School, and it's a little bit different than what they faced on Saturday. So that will come as the experience comes. And it's like we've talked to our guys about, like, we don't have time to wait. Like, we got to go now, guys. We want to grow up. We want to get better. We want to do all these things. Well, the time is now. So we've got to really improve quickly, because time is, you know, running out, if you will, because this season will be over before you know it.
Speaking of Gilbert Edmond growing up, he said he was like 180 when he switched positions senior year of high school. Now he's like 255. He was crediting like chicken wings and eating stuff for like how he got that. Just what have you seen? Do you see him scarf down food a lot? What do you see in that?
No, it's probably a better question for Kristen. I would say it's our nutrition program, but I did see before I came in here that he was talking about wherever he goes and eats the wings or chicken or the special sauce or whatever. So I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that's going on outside this building. But then he also is very intentional about, you know, what's going on downstairs with nutrition and all that as well. And we got a few guys that we need to put on some weight and continue to get stronger and bigger. So whatever he's doing, they need to follow his lead for sure.
Jalen Brooks said earlier he feels like you guys have all the right people in the building and are just kind of, you know, everything hasn't clicked yet. Can you put your finger on, like, you know, what that last missing piece is right now? Is it just something that's going to take time for you all to kind of get comfortable with each other? Like, where is that right now?
Yeah, I think it's a process, and I do believe we're close. I know we're not as far away as it looked, on Saturday. And that's the frustrating thing. And I know every coach says that, you know, we had this guy open and we had this play to be made and this run was there. If this guy had just done that and woulda, coulda, shoulda. I mean, I'm not one of those guys, but you do see the tape that that there's opportunities out there to be made. And to me, it's just go right back out there on that practice field and go right back to work and continue to try and get better. And that's the only answer, you know, that I know. You just don't flip a switch and turn it on Saturday. Otherwise, we would have done that last week. It's got to come out there on the practice field, and I see that from our guys. I mean, they really are practicing well and practicing with great intent, and we've just got to continue to do that also.
I got 2 for you. Have you had a chance to talk to administration about the second quarter delay so it doesn't happen again? And then while you guys were all standing out there, Georgia, in your offense, did you have the option to stay on the sideline until the play clock started running down and hold your guys to the side before going out there?
The communication, Coach Tanner and I have talked. He's been fantastic, and I've Eric Nichols in marketing reached out as well, and I appreciate them doing that. In regards to being out there on the field, I always meet with the officials in pregame. And in that pregame meeting, the official told me, look, college football games are, long enough as they are. When we come out of a TV timeout today, we'd love for you guys to be out there ready to go. And as soon as we come out of the commercial break, we're playing. So we were trying to decide in that situation if we were going to go for it on fourth down or if we were going to kick. We decided to go for it. And then at that point, we're in the huddle trying to figure out what play we're going to run, the play formerly known as Sooner. And then at that point, the official blew the whistle and motioned for us to come out there on the field. And so I wasn't going to bring the team off the field at that point and risk any kind of delay a game or anything like that as well. I was doing what the officials had communicated to us pregame, which was get the team out there and be ready to go.
Shane, you mentioned that one play from Oklahoma that Spencer didn't like. As he's more comfortable here, is he also more verbal about other plays that he doesn't like?
Yeah, and to me, that's not just Spencer, Rick. I mean, that was Luke last year, and that was Jason Brown, and I would say that's any quarterback out there. You want them to be comfortable with what they're being asked to do in the game plan. And with the quarterbacks last year and then Spencer this year, look, if there's something you don't really love and don't quite understand, don't think fits us, whatever, communicate it. Let's get that out of the game plan. So he's great about that and in communicating that for sure. And then he's also very good about working really, really hard. If there's something there is some gray area about that he doesn't feel comfortable with, working really, really hard to get comfortable with it as well. So I'm very pleased with the communication between Spencer and the rest of the offensive staff.
I believe it was the start of the fourth quarter, big huddle. You're in the middle of it, very passionate. Was that a message not just about the final 15 minutes, but also going forward, and was that message heated?
Yeah, we do that every fourth quarter. I think we started doing that, I want to say like midway through the season last year. One of our things that we talk about in winning football games is dominating the fourth quarter. And every Sunday when we come in that team meeting room and review the game from the day before, there's things that we look at. Did we get this done or not? And one of those is, did we win the fourth quarter? So we started doing that about midway through last season, Reggie. And the message in that situation was, we're going to find out a lot about this team right now. This game has not gone the way that we wanted it to go, but we don't ever look at the scoreboard. We don't play to whatever the score is. We compete and don't worry about the scoreboard, so that whoever we went back out there on the field in the fourth quarter, I wanted to see us continue to compete like we did all last season. Because I think, we had ups and downs last year, but I want to say that we won the fourth quarter and I think it was 10 of 12 games maybe, so we just continue to get better and we don't worry about the score and we just keep playing. So that was the message in that huddle on Saturday afternoon.
Shane, you've obviously been a tight ends coach before and got some really talented guys here in Jaheim and that group. I mean, you saw another talented guy in Brock Bowers the other day. I mean, this might be a little bit general, but is it crazy to think a guy like Brock or Jaheim or with a big year can be a Heisman Trophy candidate? I mean, is it crazy to think a tight end should be in that mix and in that running?
I don't think it's crazy because to me, there's so many tight ends nowadays are doing the things that that you need to potentially be a Heisman Trophy candidate. They're catching passes, they're carrying the ball. You're getting the ball in your hands that many times. Certainly, now you need to be on a winning team that has the kind of success that you have to win a Heisman Trophy. But it's not like in the old days where you were a tight end and you just blocked and you caught 25 catches. Now you're blocking, but you're also catching passes. You're getting the ball on jet sweeps. like Brock did on at times last year, or reverses, or you're handing the ball to him like we've done with Jaheim. So, sir, I don't think it's out of the imagination to say that could happen.
Shane, you've talked at times about slow starts for this team. As you kind of go back and maybe quality control some of that stuff, what can you as coaches do to maybe stem some of those slow starts, and what can you guys do maybe in practice to make sure you guys start a little bit quicker?
I don't know. If you got any ideas, let me know. I mean, we've tried to implement it with the way that we start practice. I mean, we don't just kind of like stretch and then just ease into things. I mean, we try and start practice fast every day, because that's how you start games, So we have a walk through and we stretch, and we usually do some sort of like turnover or tackling circuit and a quick special teams period, and then it's right to either a competitive period or a team period or some kind of physicality like it would be on a game. We do that. We did it today. The last two games I'm not sure. Can't remember if we won the toss or not. But I think we did Saturday. If you win the toss, we were going to take the ball the last 2 weeks, which we've never done. We've always won the toss and deferred. And at Arkansas, I can't remember who won it, but if we had won it, we were taking the ball. And then Georgia, I think we did win it and took the ball as well, just to try and get our offense out there and get off to a good start. So there's things that we do at the hotel before we come over here as well. And I don't want guys thinking so much and pressing so much, like we got to get off to a fast start. We got to get off to a fast start. To me, it's just executing. And Saturday, I think the pass to Jaheim was on that first drive. We threw the pass to Stogg on the first play of the game, and then I want to say that pass, maybe Jaheim was the second drive, but we had a decent drive going on the very first time, and then we just, we got stopped for whatever reason, and we've just got to continue to look at how we're starting games schematically, and then when we get out there, we got to execute, and because it's happened way too often. I get it. We've had way too many bad starts to games, offense, defense, and special teams. I mean, I think this was the second game in a row that defensively we gave up touchdown drives the first 3 times that the opponent had the ball and can't get stops. And it's just we're getting ourselves in a hole, and it's hard to dig out of. So we've got to continue to just coach and coach better going into the game and make plays when we have the opportunity to.
Shane, you've seen and coached a lot of holders in your time, probably grew up with a lot of them too. Just what goes into that, and have you ever seen a guy like Kai who just seems kind of natural to be where his hands are always going to where the ball is snapped?
No, I think Kai's phenomenal. What's the holder of the year award in college football? More. I don't know. Ask Pete, but he should be up for it. I mean, the guy's phenomenal. He really is. And I hate that we've had some bad snaps, but going back to last year, I mean, you go back and you look at some of the snaps that he got down on the ground. I mean, people take that for granted. He's a great punter. He made a heck of a throw on the fake punt the other day, going back and watching the tape. I mean, that was a big-time throw to Trayvon. But he's just he's a really good athlete, and he's really gifted at that. And I think that's what it is. I mean, I think it helps to have some athleticism. You've got to have good hands for sure. You've got to be somewhat of a leader out there because you're directing traffic and kind of the quarterback of that field goal unit as well. And then just the consistency. I mean, people say, okay, that's easy, catch it and put it down. Well, it's catching it, it's putting it down, it's being on the right spot, and just the consistency that you have to have over and over again. He's awesome at it.
Everyone in this area knows your support for women's sports. Most of all, the fellow coaches here at the university who've been tweeting support for you over the last couple days. Just for you as a coach, as a father, as a person, what makes that support of women's sports such a priority for you?
I know how hard they work, and they put in the same amount of time and make the same sacrifices that our male athletes do as well. I mean, I'm the dad of 2 daughters, and my daughter right now, my oldest, is playing volleyball and does basketball in the wintertime and did soccer in the spring. And my youngest daughter, she as many hours as I spend up here, I feel like she spends more hours at dance because she's into dance. I mean, I got home late last night and I beat her home, and because she's out at the dance studio till whatever time, and just that. And then I think having a chance to not only get to know the coaches, but some of these young ladies, and like the respect and admiration I have for Aaliyah Boston as a player, but getting to know her as a person. And then Kaylin and our women's golf team, and I've been able to play golf with some of those young ladies and spend some time with them at the practice facility, and went to dinner with them at an event before, and Tilly and Hannah and Louise and those guys. I mean, they're great young ladies and work really hard. Justine, and just getting to know them, spending time around the teams, and then understanding that we're all part of one family here at Carolina. It makes it easy to support because they're great athletes, but the ones that I've gotten the chance to know, they're even better people, which makes it easy to cheer for them.
Coach, you mentioned him earlier when you were talking about Gilbert Edmond, but Nicky Manwari is a guy that's kind of really stepped up and come into his own. How much of a testament is he to not only this defense but the program too? Yeah, no,
he's been awesome. He's come in, and the moment hasn't been too big for him. He's really worked hard, and he just continues to get better. And if there's something that he's not as good at as he wants to be right now, he works at it, and we're able to put him in different places and move him around and do different things with him, which is not easy to do as a young player. And I would say that about him, but I mean that whole freshman class. I mean, every week we recognize the top 4 student athletes of the week, like the guys on our team that are doing the best academically, and DQ Smith was one of the guys for us this morning. So you talk about what Nick's doing as a true freshman. You talk about what DQ's doing as a true freshman. It's just a really, really good freshman class that's handling their business on and off the field. And credit to them and their families, and then the people around them as well.
Coach, last 2 weeks, 2 tough matchups against conference opponents. Now you're heading into a game against Charlotte. How different, if at all, is your preparation for these smaller non-conference opponents as opposed to these big SEC ones?
None. It better be the same. To me, we talk. It's nameless, faceless opponents, and every week it's about us being the very best we can be and competing to a standard and going out there to try and dominate the competition and dominate our responsibilities. And if we treat Georgia State and Charlotte and South Carolina State any different than the last 2 weeks because they're not in the SEC, then we're doing this all wrong. It's every week about how we can be better for sure, and continue to get better and continue to try and compete as well. And to go back on what you said too, Matt, also it's the fact that I've had a chance to get to know, Austin Stogner's sister is a college athlete, plays volleyball. Spencer Rattler's sister is a college athlete. Braden Willis, who is Oklahoma's starting tight end. I mean, his sister plays soccer at Texas State, and knowing those families and just how hard those girls work for sure. It's just you get to know them as people, and we got players on our team who date some of the student athletes here at Carolina. So just knowing how the sacrifices that all student athletes make to play the sport they love, it makes it easy to go support them for sure. And I'm a sports fan in general. And I've been to more women's events here than I've been to the men's events here, I think. And part of it is being a dad and being able to take my girls to watch the sports that they love to watch and compete in as well. Good. Thank you, guys. Have a good week. Y'all take care.